Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Min Prime and Liquid Huck here on Scrap Station. Min Prime, or Min, spawning as the red Zerg over here at the 12 o'clock position. Meanwhile, across this chasm we have Liquid Huck spawning as the blue Protoss. So blue Protoss versus a red Zerg here, and I really like this mining coming in from Huck. Huck making sure to double up on the mineral patches that are closest and not trying to mine out from any of these further mineral patches, and getting this down quite well. So this takes a lot of micro and a lot of dedication in order to really be able to pull off. However, this will cause these particular 3 mineral patches to mine out much more quickly than the remaining 4 here, as these 4 mineral patches will mine out much more quickly than the remaining 4, just because of the total walking distances between those mineral patches. But you can already see this one mineral patch down to 1435 compared to 1500. And yeah, that will affect the game as this game progresses. We now saw the extractor trick coming in from Min Prime and now getting a second overlord. Will we see a spawning pool, or will we see an early hatchery? Will be a key question on Scrap Station. Scrap Station, one of those maps that were recently, or that was changed during the beta in order to make it what I call more Zerg friendly, with the addition of these destructible rocks. Back over here, we now see a probe waiting to set down a gateway, most likely, and now make its way out. I'd be really surprised if I saw a forge. And is he going for a double gateway? I believe he is. He might be warping in 2 gates, just waiting for that overlord there, and now going for 1 gateway, and now also going for the assimilator. So I guess he was simply waiting to see if there was going to be an extractor and a spawning pool. As soon as he saw that there was an extractor and a spawning pool and no hatchery being laid down here, he realized what his opponent was doing and knew that a 2-gate rush would not be effective. So very, very effective use of that scouting. Liquid Huck playing more of a reactionary style in this particular matchup here. So good play coming in so far. We do see that there is currently 1 assimilator up. Zealots not being trained just quite yet because there was a delay on that gateway. Normally this gateway would already be up, and now followed with a cybernetics core. We now see the probe now trying to move away here and making sure that there is no hatchery down here. So there is no hatchery here coming in from Min just quite yet. We now see a cybernetics core coming in here, so this gateway may be placed here, and then perhaps another pylon, making a very narrow choke point in this location for Zerglings to try to run by, and then also allowing sentries to drop force fields in order to stop any units from being built. So yeah, very, very nicely done, and I'll have to try some more experiments later. And wow, interesting position on this gateway. The gateway actually positioned here, so it is actually a very narrow choke point in this location here. So the cybernetics core gateway with a very narrow choke point here. That zealot pulling back just a little bit will be able to handle a large amount of Zerglings, as I believe only 1 or maybe 2 Zerglings at most are able to deal damage at a time. 1 probe down over here, quickly finding itself on the wrong end of some claws. Some Zerglings now trying to give chase. Metabolic boost not yet completed, so this 1 probe may barely able to escape, down to 10 hit points so far, but its shields will not regenerate. The Zerglings will be able to get off 1 more peck, maybe 2, as that probe just tries to run for its life. Will it be able to, as it tries to get in? There is going to be a zealot, and down it goes. So, oh, poor probe, just a day late and a dollar short, trying to make its way back home, dying on the ramp. 2 sentries now currently being warped in as well, so double gas being laid down by Liquid Huck, as we are now going into a 3rd gateway. So a 3-gate off of Zealot Sentry. I really do like Zealot Sentry. If you guys have seen any of my Protoss play, I really do favor Zealot Sentry, and now Liquid Huck doing the same thing. It allows you to be able to warp in additional gateways because sentries do not require that many minerals. It also allows you to expand if you do choose to. And sentries, the earlier you warp them out or get them into play, the more energy they have. Back over here, we are now nearing completion on that warp gate research, and now as soon as that warp gate research is completed, we should probably get 3 warp gates online and then warp in additional zealots. I do not believe, currently a pylon currently being researched as currently being warped in as well, in addition to hallucination. So hallucination currently being researched, as more sentries still being macroed up. So with more and more sentries being trained, those sentries will be able to perhaps get a force field here and then block off any of those Zerglings trying to run around, perhaps get some damage onto this 1 Nexus over here. There is 1 probe sitting there. As those sentries now will be able to walk up that ramp. Sentries do have a range of 5. Even though they do move a little bit more slowly, they will be able to get off the necessary damage to stop some of those Zerglings. Zerglings trying to run by, quickly getting finished off there, and down they go. We do see an Overlord currently in position here. Additional sentries and perhaps some, additional sentries and perhaps some zealots could be warped in. Sentries, however, will be able to get a lot of damage dealt across that one Overlord there. The sentries are able to deal damage, start damaging at, I believe, at a range of 5, and then continue damaging up to, I believe, a range of 6 or 7. I'll have to double check that for you. I don't believe I can actually read that up anywhere, as we are now getting Hallucination. So Hallucination coming online in just a moment, and what will he hallucinate? Phoenixes will allow him to gain some additional sight relatively quickly. As those Phoenixes now making their way out, you almost want these Phoenixes to not fire, just because by firing they reveal themselves to not be actual Phoenixes. No damage being dealt across any of those Overlords. Queen's now trying to come in as well, getting some damage dealt across those Overlords. Once again, getting a lot of scouting information. No tech to tier 2 over here. The tech to tier 2 happening... actually, no tech to tier 2 at all, as we are now currently running off of 3 bases. Roaches are trying to walk in, but however, quickly well-placed force fields denying any of those Roaches from being able to get in. And he is able to do this just because he had those sentries out for a very, very long time. So even though he hallucinated 2 Phoenixes, with the sheer number of sentries he had and how early he was able to warp them into play, they were all able to get a lot of energy relatively early. We are now sitting on a large amount of gas, so he could warp in 3 additional sentries in just a moment if he decides to, as Stalkers continuing to look around the map, making sure that there are no additional Roaches or any Banelings currently being morphed anywhere near his base. Huck now starting to saturate his natural expansion, sitting on 38 harvesters. Meanwhile, Min Prime sitting on 41 harvesters, having a slight economic advantage as the probes are finally being transferred, and now will even have a stronger economic advantage as Min Prime takes up a 3rd base. We do see a robotics facility being built here, and this will allow Colossi to be trained here and simply walk down this ramp. Also, if he does go for Immortals, Immortals are able to take down these destructible debris very, very easily, as they deal 50 damage per attack and 47 after you account for armor if there is no level 1 weapons upgrade. Liquid Huck currently chrono boosting the Forge, getting level 1 weapons upgrade, as those Phoenixes are now in the air trying to get some additional sight. Phoenix is moving very, very quickly, able to just scout around the map very effectively, and the Phoenix will be able to see that there is an expansion here in just a moment. Min Prime wants this game to go a little bit longer army-wise, fairly even, but if he's able to macro up and mine off of these 24 mineral patches without being spotted, however, the Phoenix is now coming in. If he's able to mine from these 24 mineral patches without getting harassed, he will be able to macro up a much larger army in a very little amount of time. Hydralisk Den now being created. So interestingly enough, getting a Hydralisk Den, we see a Robotics Bay. Yes, we do see the Robotics Bay and the Twilight Council. So Robotics Bay and Twilight Council coming online in just a moment. Stalkers and sentries with zealots may try to take down these rocks here, and then try to split this army in half. However, he may get flanked in a really, really bad position trying to come into here, as Zerglings will be able to approach from this very, very wide arc of about 180 degrees. There's everything on the left side in front of you, and you never want to be caught in open field against a Zerg player, especially on creep. Zerg units moving so quickly on creep. Stalkers, sentries, and zealots currently just sitting over here. We do have some Roaches now sitting here as well. And now the army-wise, Min Prime just playing a very defensive game. Weapon or production-wise, we see a lot being produced by the Zerg player. Level 1 missile upgrades, Groove Spines, Roaches, and the movement upgrade for those Roaches as well, in addition to some Hydralisks. Meanwhile, extended thermal lance range and Colossi, or Colossus, currently being trained as this army of Roaches now on the move. Once again, taking a look at the gateways. The gateways, 2 of them are on cooldown, and now 2 additional gateways also being produced or warped in as well, as we have a fight in the center of the field. Roach is getting caught out of position, and very nice force fields once again, getting so many early sentries. Really allows for this mass force field play, just sitting in a very, very protective pocket here. The quarterback with a lot of defense with those force fields, and now those sentries now trying to retreat here, and now with Guardian Shield will be able to even get off more force fields and try to protect themselves even further from any additional Roaches. Stalkers, and now with the Colossus coming online, that Colossus will be able to push back against this army here and simply just devastate this army by Min Prime. Min Prime trying to attack continually. However, he is not going to be on the victor of this fight. Maybe able to do a lot of damage across these Stalkers, but more and more units currently being warped in here. Photon cannons also being warped in as well with a range of 7. So much damage being dealt, and Min Prime being forced to pull back. He does have the larger army at the end of this fight, but he just took a very, very heavy casualties. I believe you take a look at the losses. Yeah, Min Prime losing out of 300 additional resources there, and also 95 units lost versus 30. Not a very fair comparison, as Colossi is only 1 unit, but a very, very expensive unit at that compared to a Zergling. Production-wise, more being produced by Min Prime. Taking a look at the larva count on the hatcheries, so 3 larvae, 5 larvae, 2, and so decent amounts of larvae all over the place, as now Hydras continue to move on in once again against these Colossi. However, those Colossi able to deal a lot of damage, and now Huck being limited into 2-base play, as Min now trying to take up a high yield mineral location over here on the far side of the map. Observer now currently just able to gain sight at least on the center of the map here. More Colossi currently being trained. These gateways and 2 warp gates now, or these 2 gateways now being upgraded to warp gates, as well as these gateways are now coming online. And Liquid Huck definitely needs to get into this game, try to macro up even further, and now getting even more sentries. So unless Min Prime gets what goes into Hive Tech and gets some Ultralisk, he's gonna constantly find himself on the wrong side of a force field. Zerglings unable to swarm, Roaches just slightly out of range. Same thing with those Hydralisks. Hydralisks now trying to move in once again, able to cancel that force that cancellation on that Nexus, and now trapping a large group of Hydralisks here, and those Hydralisks now trying to once again re-engage. Hydralisks, however, dilly-dallying in the backside. Not all of them are engaging at the same time. Currently 4 Colossi trying to fight back in this war. These Colossi will be able to retreat back up onto that high ground, getting caught and a little stuck up there. 1 Colossus getting shot down, but those photon cannons offering detection and support and static defense and support. Overseer still in the air, and with no Spire, we do not see any Corruptors. And even though Min Prime does have a significant economic advantage in getting about 600 to 700 minerals extra per game minute, and without even saturating this gold mineral location, I believe he is going to be in the losing end of this game, as Liquid Huck now starts to take this expansion over here. We do see a lot of Colossus, and without a tech, or we do see a Hive Tech now. So if Hive Tech comes in with force fields, if Hive Tech comes in with those Ultralisks to neutralize those force fields, those Ultralisks may be able to deal significant enough damage. Also, Ultralisks have a very large body radius, minimizing the amount of splash damage a Colossus does compared to trying to slice through a lot of Hydralisk. Roaches now slowly walking their way in. However, a Photon Cannon catching many of those units, and now those Roaches being forced to pull back. Are we going to get a burrow? Zergling's now trying to swarm around, and now this is just painful to watch by Min. Min Prime just constantly trying to attack here very, very slowly. Doesn't even realize that there are, realizes there are photon cannons on that high ground, and now Hydra is able to finally turn around and deal some damage back here. Liquid Huck now 1,000 minerals ahead, or 1,000 resources ahead in terms in the lost column so far, even though we see Min Prime also getting a stronger economy, now getting up to 69 harvesters, and now getting about 800 minerals extra per game minute. We do have an observer now moving around the map. We do also see 1 observer here denying an additional creep tumor, so this 1 creep tumor will stop the production and the support of creep here, which will make all of these Zerglings and those Hydralisks move much, much more slowly. Zealots now being warped in. Those Zealots do have Zealot charge. A Changeling now coming into play as well, joining with a group of charged Zealots that were just warped in. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Min Prime and Liquid Huck here on Scrap Station.